and you will be able.
Okay, so you are smoking this on a Cookshack. That's a pretty nice one, right? And it's pretty big. If you were just new to smoking, and what are some of the brands or some of the smokers that you would go with?
If I were buying one today, I might look for a good stick burner. You don't have, I started out with stick burners that were lightweight metal like you see in Lowe's and Home Depot today. Probably 12 gauge steel, maybe 14 gauge. And later on I went to the fabricated heavy steel cookers, and really there's not much difference in holding temperature. I could hold just as well on the lighter cooker as I could the heavy one, but I know there is some differences when you get in these large commercial cookers. But having said that, I'm kind of intrigued with these drum smokers today. I not having a lot of experience. I see them at the commercial cook-offs where they are cooking for a large crowd and for competition, and apparently they're pretty popular. And the other thing that's gotten really popular, probably the most popular, are the pellet smokers. And they can be used also as a grill. But I have had my experience with pellet stoves and having sold them for 20 years, and I just didn't really want to mess with the pellet grill or pellet smoker. But they have got some really nice ones out there. And Timmy has the Yoder, made up in Kansas. It's an Amish-made cooker. It's a heavy cooker, and it's a very nice cooker.
Do they make smaller ones?
I'm not sure. You just have to check together. They do make all kinds of stick burners too, though. Cookshack also makes a very nice pellet grill, pellet smoker. I think it's called Fast Eddie's. He's a competition cook. They had represented him for years, so they did a good job. And you can smoke on these just regular grills. It's just a matter of getting used to having fire on one end and your meat on the other, and how to control the fire. And it's all about fire control. So.
And you talked a lot about the Oklahoma Joes earlier.
Oklahoma Joes. I sold Oklahoma Joes for quite a few years, and I got to know Joe Davidson, and I think I might be wrong, but I think it's his brother or brother-in-law, maybe builds the smokers now. His claim to fame now is barbecue restaurants in and around Tulsa, and they sell real good food. But the Oklahoma Joe's was a real good cooker. Your brother has one now.
Yeah, that was pretty. He likes to cook on that.
Yeah,
the
that's a
queso
good
he
cooker.
did on it was good.
He'll never burn it out. It'll be here from now on. So.
He's enjoying that one.
My dad, though, when he got his first outdoor grill, it was a Hasty Bake. And he was a friend with Grant Hastings. He used to come in his grocery store when I was a kid. And Grant and him probably made some kind of a trade, the way I understand. I don't know the whole deal, but Dad ended up with a grill, and Grant ended up with a bunch of groceries. So all I know is that when Dad fired up that grill on Saturday night or Saturday evening in the summer, we ate really good. And it was usually hamburgers, hot dogs, or steaks. He never did any poultry or chicken, but he became quite the cook later on doing pork shoulder and picnic, a pork picnic. And he did those for his church every time they'd have a Sunday gathering for food. And his picnic shoulders were really good. And he was doing those on a stick burner at the time. I'd furnish him the wood, and got him in a nice stick burner, and he did real well with it. But he could cook. He knew how to cook. Didn't need any temperature probes. He could just pick something up, and he always asked everybody how they want their meat cooked. Medium, well done, medium rare, and he could do it without. And he could just touch the meat, and he knew.
He knew.
Yep.
I like my thermometer.
I
do well with my thermometer, but I appreciate
it too, and I've actually got two thermometers because I don't always trust one sometimes.
You check it with two different ones?
I have, yeah. But there are some nice thermometers out there now that probably would eliminate that.
Yeah, Michael got me one the other day.
But a lot of people nowadays, they don't want to spend the money to invest in a halfway decent smoker.
Yeah.
So, and I just stay away from propane. I haven't ever cooked on propane.
Yeah, you said no propane.
And
at
no
all.
propane. I mean, I know you can do it. I've seen them cook on them in demos at the county fairs and stuff, but I'm just not into propane.
I wouldn't think you get the flavor.
No. And there's a lot of nice electric smokers out there now.
Yeah.
And some of them actually burn these little biscuits you buy and put in there, similar to what I have. An abundance of wood, so I'll just cut up chunks of wild cherry,
Yeah.
hickory, or oak and use for my cooking.
Hey, we've got so much pecan.
I like the pecan's my favorite.
Well, we had the tornado come through.
Mhm.
So we have pecan everywhere.
You do?
Yeah, we've got of the trees, most of the trees around our place are a lot of pecan.
But you got some down branches?
I think so, in that big patch of woods that Mike was clearing out. Do you want me to tell him to keep some of that?
Next time I'm out there, I'll bring my little handy saw. That's what I take when I go to
Yeah.
the pecan trees we raise in the
Foraging
fall.
for your pecan wood.
It doesn't take a lot. You can see 2 or 3 small chunks will cook all day, you know.
I wouldn't have think that. I would have thought you'd have to use more wood
No.
for that, but you're saying not to. That less is best.
I did, I thought that too when I first got the cooker, and you can creosote your food real easily with too much
Yeah.
smoke. And the same way it goes on any cooker. First time I cooked on a stick burner, I ruined the ribs and everything I was cooking. Now I can cook the ribs equally well on a stick burner or in here. This makes it easy.
Yeah.
And my favorite cook would be ribs and chicken on my Weber grill.
No, but you did ribs on this Cookshack like a week
we
ago or
did,
something
but they
like that,
come
and
out
that
good,
was
yeah.
really
They
good.
come out really good.
Those are always good.
Well, you have to look at what these professionals are using, but you don't have to buy necessarily big and large and as expensive, you know, as what they're using. But the stick burners, the offset, are always going to be popular, and you can get in one of the box stores like Lowe's or Home Depot for a reasonable price, I think. And they're a good way to learn to cook, and that's all I cooked on for years. And I sure made my share of mistakes. But what was a bit of an issue for the holidays, as you know, we were cooking Christmas, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. And I said, and we always, for me, it was on me to cook the turkey and the ham. And you take a cold day in December or November, and the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour out of the north. I had to build buffer boards to keep the wind from cooling my cooker off too much, and it was hard to keep your temperature up.
Yeah.
And you were constantly adding wood, and it was you had to babysit your food. So in 2012, a friend of mine was selling these Cookshacks, and he made me a nice deal on this one here. And I was at the age where I decided that's a good investment because I can cook right here on the back porch when I'm doing a large item, and I can still do my grilling out in the yard when I want to on my grill. And the Cookshacks worked out good for me. A lot of this type of smoker are used in commercial barbecue businesses today. It could be a Cookshack, it could be somebody else's. And the reason they do it is they don't have to use a lot of wood, and they can cook a lot of meat in large commercial smokers. And anytime I'm in a barbecue joint and talking to the owner and they give me a chance to look at their smoker, I like to go back and look at it. Very few stick burners are out there today, but I can taste where they are because you'll usually get a better quality of food, and if they know what they're doing, and most generally they do.
So you taste the difference.
Oh yeah, I can taste the difference. But these, most people can't. Most people think this is pretty hard to beat, and it does a good job.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the only caution I have with any cooker is over smoking. And like I mentioned to you off the camera earlier, certain people can cook on anything.
Yeah.
You have to adapt to the conditions and what you're cooking with. Like I told you, your Uncle Timmy, he could cook on a trash can and it would come out good. So I'm not that good, but I'm a wannabe, but I have a big enough family with 25 grandkids and great grandkids I've got plenty of suspects, and we can use them for guinea pigs, sort of, so to speak. So,
And we never complain.
and you never
Yeah,
complain.
'cause
And if
it's
the
always
food,
so good.
if the food comes out bad, we just throw a little more barbecue sauce on it, and they think it's perfect. So,
It's always good.
but there's certain things I like to cook on this. I like the hams. I like the pork butts, the pork shoulders. They're really good to cook out here. Brisket's good to cook out here. And
You said turkey. You've done turkey for
I've
Thanksgiving.
done a lot of turkeys.
The ham is still my favorite.
I've actually gone to turkey breast because it fits in the cooker better with the full size ham.
Yeah.
But I do like a turkey, and turkey's a real challenge on a stick burner when the wind's blowing out of the north on one of those cold days.
Yeah.
But hams are pretty easy. They're pretty simple. And Nanny, your grandma, AKA Nanny, she makes the best potato salad I've ever tasted. When I go into a barbecue joint, and if
You
their
just can't
potato
order
salad any good, or the beans aren't any good, but especially potato salad, I won't go back, because if they can't make potato salad as good as her or close to it,
Yeah.
they don't need to be putting it on the menu. She knows
Honestly,
how to do potato salad.
We've never. That's something Monica and I talk about a lot. You don't even bother ordering that stuff whenever
You'll
you
be
have it
disappointed.
so good. Yeah, you'll be.
I know where to go buy good potato salad, but a lot of the places don't do well on it.
Nope.
She does well on potato salad and grandkids. What I learned on the beans, I don't know if you remember Cotton Eye Joe's.
Yeah.
Okay, the guy who owned it, probably when you remember it, his dad-in-law started it, and his name was Joe, Annie knows his last name. His daughter was a good friend of hers. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable guy. Just as good a guy as you'd ever met. He was a pipeline welder.
Yeah.
And he started that business because he could build his own smokers. He built large commercial smokers. And he built that business, and his food was the best. And then he went up to Knoll, Missouri, and he put one in up there, and it did real well.
Huh.
But Joe, I was in the grocery store one day, and I was asking, I always try to get him to hint around what he's doing and how he's cooking. And I say, how about your beans? What do you do different on your beans? So he goes in to tell me where he buys his beans. He buys his canned beans in Arkansas, some grocery wholesaler over somewhere. And the beans are canned over there, and it's a brand I've seen before, but you won't see them in a lot of stores. But he was able to buy the large cans of beans and cook with them. And I said, well, how did you cook them? I said, your beans just come out really great. And he said, what I do is I pour them back in my cans, and I cook them on the smoker in the can.
Which is why you started doing that.
I did that for years, and they were awesome. But that 28 ounce can's good, and save some extra cans so when you get ready to make beans, save those cans, mix up those beans, put them out there, and when you're ready to serve them, you go out there with your gloves, take them in here and pour them in your pan and mix them up. They are killer beans. But anyway, Joe told me that. And he didn't tell me his recipe or anything. I didn't ask him. I knew he had good beans. My uncle from California, him and my aunt would come down here. That's the only place he ever wanted to go eat. His mom and dad would bring him up here, and he wanted his ribs. His ribs were amazing. They were good. But Joe knew how to cook. He knew how to do it. And he had quality food. Smoky. Beans are looking good. These